Last season, the Utah Jazz went 44-28, putting them at 8th in the Western Conference. They were eliminated in the first round by the Denver Nuggets after they came back from a 3-1 deficit. Their top performers were Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Bojan Bogdanovic, and their more interesting player is Mike Conley. Donovan Mitchell put up 24 points per game, about 4 assists per game on 45% from the field, and 36.5% from 3. Donovan Mitchell is a great offensive talent. He's somebody who can score at all 3 levels. He's especially proficient in the mid-range. About 48% of his field goal attempts come from the mid-range, and his field goal percentages from the mid-range spots are pretty remarkable. Donovan Mitchell is a high-level finisher with his elite athleticism. You can only hope that he can get to the rim more and use that athleticism and that finishing ability, because only 16.9% of his field goal attempts come from the 0 to 3 feet range. On defense, Donovan Mitchell is a tad bit undersized. He's 6'2 or 6'1 guarding shooting guards, so that can be a bit of an issue, but his crazy wingspan for his height helps, and his tenacity and just hustle on defense helps him on that side as well. Rudy Gobert last year put up 15 points per game, 13.5 rebounds per game, 2 blocks per game on 69.3% from the field. Gobert is a great defensive anchor. He's one of the league's best rim protectors. However, his defensive impact is diminished when he's playing against a stretch center, somebody that can keep him away from the rim. If Rudy Gobert is not blocking shots and patrolling the rim on defense, then basically all of his impact is diminished. It vanishes. And when he has to guard a ball handler at the 3-point line and on the perimeter, he also suffers there because he's just not great at defending on the perimeter. It's not a natural place for him. We saw in the Denver Nuggets series when he had to defend Jokic, he had to stay close to him on the perimeter because Jokic is one of the league's best shooting centers. He is also a center that can handle the ball on the perimeter and at the elbow. So that kind of made Rudy Gobert's impact on defense a bit more diminished. On offense, Gobert is just a rim runner. He's a good pick and roll finisher when dunking. He doesn't really have the most touch on layups, so you really got to force feed him some dunk opportunities there. And he also provides no floor spacing because he doesn't shoot mid-ranges or threes. He's also going into a contract year, and is Rudy Gobert going to be somebody who you really want to give $28, $29, $30 million when he's really a one-sided player where most of his impact is felt on defense, and then in the playoffs, his defensive impact can be diminished? Do you really want to commit $29 million per year to that player? Bogdanovic put up 20 points per game, 4 rebounds per game on 44.7% from the field and 41.5% from 3. Bogdan is an inside-out scorer. He's not too good in the mid-range, so he doesn't take that many mid-range shots. Bogdanovic is an on and off ball threat. He can get to the rim at will using his deceptive speed, his change of pace, and he can also get open off the ball using screens to get open for threes. I say Mike Conley is their interesting player because of his, I guess you could say, his Jekyll and Hyde performance from the regular season to the postseason. In the regular season, Conley averaged 14.5 points per game, 4.5 assists per game on 41% from the field and 37.5% from 3. He struggled early on in the regular season last year, mightily. Like, he was bad early in the regular season. But he kind of picked it up towards the end, and he definitely stepped it up in the playoffs. In the playoffs, he averaged 19.8 points per game, 5.2 assists per game on 48.4% from the field and 52.3% from 3. This is the Mike Conley that they really need going forward, especially next season, if they really want to go far, because they're committing 35 or 36 million to him this season, and they traded like a couple of pick swaps to Memphis to get him. So if they're going to get the Mike Conley of last regular season, then this trade is definitely going to be an L for them. But if they get the Mike Conley of last postseason, they can actually have a formidable big three on offense in Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, and Bogdanovic. That could be a pretty lethal offensive trio. In the offseason, the Jazz didn't really do anything to shake it up. They mainly just brought back their guys. They didn't make any trades, didn't have a draft pick, but in terms of signings, they did bring in somebody new. They brought in Derek Favors on a 3-year, $29 million contract. Technically somebody new because he didn't play there last year, but he was on Utah for a long time before he played with New Orleans. I don't know how they're going to run Derek Favors because he played a lot of power forward in his first stint in Utah. In this new age NBA, I don't think that's the direction they're going to want to go, so he's probably going to serve as a backup center for them. They also brought back Jordan Clarkson on a 4-year $51 million contract. Jordan Clarkson was kind of instrumental for them last regular season when they acquired him, and then in the postseason. He is an instant offense guy. He's going to come in and he's just driven to put the ball in the hoop. I mean, the Lakers were trying to make him somewhat of a playmaker when they had him, but this dude is just a microwave bucket. And I guess Quinn Snyder really just unleashed that part of him. He just really gave him the green light to just go for buckets when he got in the game. He was getting buckets for Utah last year. Mainly, that is why he is my 6th man of the year pick. Yes, I'm giving you a bit of a sneak peek towards my awards prediction video, but Jordan Clarkson is my 6th man of the year pick. In a full year in Utah, he's still going to have the green light from Quinn Snyder to go out and get buckets, and he's going to be on a team that should be pretty successful. And then they also extended Donovan Mitchell on a 5-year, $195 million extension. Based off of the playoffs, that first round, you could say he definitely deserves that payday, to be paid like somebody who's going to be a top 10 player in our league, because Mitchell has that potential. He was looking like the greatest player of all time in multiple occasions in that first round. Not saying he's going to be that, but that's just what he was. That's just the production he was putting out. And especially with them being a smaller market team, they're going to have to pay somebody like Mitchell top dollar to really keep him there. And they did so. Looking at their depth chart at the guard positions, they have Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, and Shaquille Harrison. At the forward positions, they have Bojan, Joe Ingles, Georges Niang, and Royce O'Neal. And at the center positions, they have Rudy Gobert and Derek Favors. Coaching them is Quinn Snyder. He's been there for quite a bit now. I think he's been there for at least 5 years. Next season, I project the starting lineup to be Conley, Spida, Bojan, Ingles, and Gobert. And I think their record will be about 40-32, putting them at around a 7th seed. Yeah, the Western Conference is just really competitive now. Teams in that like 5 to 10 range, everybody really got better, kind of besides the Jazz. The Warriors got better simply because they're healthier. Suns added Chris Paul. Pelicans, more experienced, full year of Zion. Grizzlies, more experienced. Portland, healthier, gonna have a full year of Nurkic. So yeah, they're all of those teams are getting better, and Utah didn't really make an adjustment to really improve as a team. Like the Derek Favors acquisition is cool, but I don't think that's something that's really gonna move their needle. So yeah, I think they're going to be a lower seed than they were last year, and they're going to move down to the 7th seed, and I think they'll get eliminated in the first round. The direction for this Jazz team, they're competing. They have the same core from last year that made the playoffs and made some noise in the playoffs, but I don't think they are serious contenders. I don't think Donovan Mitchell is going to take a big enough step to really carry this team and for me to view them as serious contenders. Rudy Gobert is what he is. Mike Conley is what he is. Bogdanovich is what he is. Yeah, they're competing, but they're just really not serious contenders in the West. The Utah Jazz are basically the same team from last year, just a year older. And that is not a good thing considering they were bounced in the first round last year and that the Western Conference is now much more competitive. Outside of Mitchell, there isn't a young improving talent amongst their core players. Bojan, Conley, and Ingles are all in the tail end of their prime, and Gobert is in the midst of his prime. So unless Spida can ascend to the level of superstardom, I think this current Jazz nucleus has hit its peak, a team that puts up a fight in the first round before its eventual exit. And I don't think it will be much different this season. You can see the struggle, but you'll never know the hustle, homie.